Hello, everyone. Welcome to New Music Muse. I'm your host, Ben Wigo, and today's guest is Eva Rose.
I just wanna waste your time. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to do this. I'm currently living in New York, more specifically Brooklyn, but I'm actually from Los Angeles originally. Moved out here for college like 5 years ago.
Oh, very nice.
And we're here. Yeah.
What was the moment that you kind of realized that you wanted to pursue music as a passion of yours?
Okay, well, there were two moments. First was like when I was 5 and I first heard Avril Lavigne's Let Go album, which just turned 20 years old today. That was like the moment when, when everyone's a little kid, they're like, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a pop star. I want to be a movie star, that kind of stuff. And then I always did music as a child. And then as I got older, I was still into music, but I was like, do I do this for a living? Like, what do I do? Especially around the time, like, end of high school when you had to start thinking about college. And then I think around my senior or junior year of high school, I was like, okay, I had a mini mental breakdown. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do anything with my life, it better be something that I love doing. I was already writing music. So decided to apply to NYU, Tisch, the Clive Davis Institute. I'm like, okay, I'm going to full send it, get into music, be a songwriter, and see what happens.
Yeah, as you should, honestly. And I definitely see the correlation between like Avril Lavigne's music and your music a little bit. Like, I've really been jamming to your song "Waste Your Time." So, can you talk a little,
Oh, yes. Thank you.
yeah, how that song came to be?
Well, I wrote that song, and then that first EP that I put out of Lives, I put out last October. That kind of happened like as an accident because for the past prior to 2020, for the past 2 years, I'd primarily just been a songwriter for other artists, primarily pop artists. And I kind of took time away from thinking of myself, as an artist and what music I'd want to put out because that was way too vulnerable for me at the time. And I was just kind of like honing my craft, working with different people and just like taking on different perspectives. And then one day I was working with my good friend and main collaborator. His name is Dominic Florio. Um, we were always co-writing partners for other people. And then one day we were in a session. It was him and then our friend Desi. And I was like, okay, we're gonna write a song with Desi. And then they're like, no, Eva, let's write a song for you. And I was like, girl, I don't know about that. And that ended up being the first song was Out of Lives, and then a week later was Waste Your Time. And that was like during late quarantine days. Waste Your Time was kind of therapy because I'd gone into the session being like, oh my God, I like miss this guy I used to date. It was a complicated situation. And through talking about it, I'm like, I don't actually miss them. I'm just lonely. That's the tea. And I'm being problematic by like contemplating even reaching out to them. So we wrote this song called I don't want the line at the end goes, I don't want you, I just know I want to. I just want to waste your time. So it's a self drag. It's a self call out being like you're being messy, you're being overly nostalgic, you're missing the feelings, but you actually don't miss the person. Ever see me calling, don't
But I think it's completely relatable because I think everyone kind of goes to that phase in a breakup or like when they have a temptation to reach out to their ex just because they feel lonely. And I think the visualizer really captured that, like the music video, because like you sitting on a couch and like there's all these people like behind you, and it just looks like there's so much going through your mind that you can't really enjoy the moment, and you want to somehow fill that hole of like loneliness. Yeah. How would you describe your style of music?
I mean, I'm a guitar girl through and through. I would say, I mean, the style of music I definitely fall into more the indie pop, indie rock lane. I always feel weird like combining, when you always have to submit to playlists and stuff, you're like, what's the genre? And it's pretty clear, clearly in that world, that's just music I love. Even I'm like so happy there's this resurgence of rock music happening again because for so many years I felt like lame it being like 2014 and being like, oh my God, I just want to listen to My Chemical Romance. People being like, girl, we are not on that wave. And so I'm really excited to have the music. I just want to make music that I love to listen to. And being a Virgo, I'm mad picky. It's really hard for me to listen to things that I've made and like genuinely enjoy it. So I was kind of going through, prior to working on my EP, I was kind of, working with other artists helped me really figure out what I resonated with and what I loved, because I was working with people who do hyper pop and more R&B, and I love listening to that kind of music, but I'm like, okay, this is a great exercise in like what really speaks to me. If I were to share my stories, how would I want that to come across sonically? So definitely I've always, you know, listened to grew up listening to indie rock, emo music, and I've always wanted to have that's been a part of my personality.
I think it definitely fits your voice really well too, and in the way that you are able to tell your story through that type of music. I think it fits really well for you, and it's hard to find like your sound a lot when you are an artist, because sometimes artists will make music that doesn't really suit their voice or like help tell their story through their lyrics,
Yeah.
And I think you do that really well. With that being said, like what lyric do you find like most relatable to your life that you've written?
That's a tough question.
I
Let me
know every time I ask that question, it kind of hits like the artist out of nowhere. They're like, oh wait,
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna like take a step back and think about it.
One lyric, and I feel like it's a basic lyric. It's not particularly like, oh my God, that was some poetry. I was a rupee carring it or whatever. But the line in Waste Your Time that goes, I don't come back for the coffee if I'm honest. I'm still holding on to things we have in common. I feel like that it's simple, but I feel like that line will always resonate with me because I'm a naturally very nostalgic person in all relationships in my life. Like I'm always I guess it's the same thing with my music. Like I'm always wanting to do callbacks to the past and callbacks to nostalgia, or like things that remind me of my own childhood and like my own relationship with myself, of like wanting to still have things in common with the old versions of me as a kid, me with my childhood friends, me with exes, whoever, just wanting to still have that connection, that thread of connection, no matter how like simple, authentic, inauthentic it may be.
I think everyone kind of want to live in the past a little bit, and I like how you chose like such a simple type of analogy, like just like a cup of coffee, but it's like you want to like keep that relationship alive, but it's also in your past and you're kind of trying to move on, but like
Yeah.
everybody kind of revisits their past a lot. Like who are some of your artistic inspirations, and who would you like love to collab with?
Ooh. I feel like it definitely, straddles between people of the past and artists who are coming up now. But I mean, I always, to this day, am going to rock with Paramore. I love Paramore. I mean, it's probably obvious listening to my music, especially I have a song coming out called Happy Belated that's more like rocky. That just influenced how I wanted to sing and everything. It's just so powerful, and love Paramore. Avril Lavigne, she's having her moment again. Good for her. But I would love, love, love to collab with. I'm really into Holly Humberstone. I really love Biba Doobie. Just like the new indie rock girlies. I think it makes me so happy. I'm like, oh yes, this music, I love it. Like I'm obsessed. I'm fully obsessed. I love Charlie Adams. I would love to work and write with those people, like those artists, because I love what they're doing in
There's definitely a resurgence of that kind of indie rock going on, like especially in like just female artists. Like a lot of them are coming up. Why should people listen to Eva Rose, and what song would you put like a first time listener onto?
Ooh, no one's ever asked that question. I'm a person through and through. Just the reason why I wanted to start songwriting, and I feel like this is a motivation for every songwriter, is wanting to just communicate and really encapsulate very specific yet universal feelings and experiences in life in a way that helps other people not feel so isolated and lonely. Like, for example, I think I'd put someone on to like Waste Your Time, because I feel like that is something that could be very hyper specific, a feeling or a situation you're in, and yet be so universal. And I don't know, I want to connect. I want to connect with people and feel like people that listen to my music and people who could become fans are like, this is my group, these are my friends, these are my people. And I don't know, I feel like if you want to be read potentially and be seen, listen to me. And it's funny because the music is like, if you're someone who is like emo but also wants to like chill, listen to my music, because I feel like, for example, my song Out of Lives, the lyrics, when you look at them, you're like, this is fucking sad. But the song itself is like, oh, this is like a summer bop. I've been trying to start over with you, but we both know, yes, it's game over, nowhere else it can go, 'cause this isn't love if we're just trying to survive. This time I think we're out of lives.
Thank you, everyone. This is Eva Rose. Go stream her music on all platforms and follow her social media.
And if you want astrology content, follow me on TikTok, Eva the Virgo.